Good afternoon. I wanted to have a meeting today to discuss what I feel is something that is not openly discussed and not openly talked about. And there's several reasons for that. And we'll discuss those as we get into what this meeting is about, and that's romance scams. And romance scams are increasing. Intelligent people are affected by these every single day. And this is not a question of intelligence. This is about understanding what happens cognitively when a romance scam starts to develop and starts to bloom into a definite relationship and what happens there. Okay, so it's more about understanding of um, how does the brain handle this when this unfolds? And we're not going to get into a bunch of psychoanalytical jargon, and but there are some things, some triggers that are important to understand. So instead of asking how could this happen, and how could somebody fall for that, the better question is what's happening to the brain when this unfolds, and just exactly why are romance scams increasing, especially in light of the fact that people are becoming more and more educated about how these scams are perpetrated and the people behind those scams. And there just seems to be more education, but the amount of money lost is increasing, and the amount of occurrences are increasing every year in the US and globally. So that's what this discussion is about. Unfortunately, I can talk to this firsthand because I also experienced this situation, and so I can kind of talk about it on a firsthand basis. And I've evaluated this quite a bit since this has happened to me. And I've come up with what I call the attachment override model. And let me explain what I mean by that. Um, there are certain things that need to happen, right? And there are certain ways in which these romance scams are orchestrated, how they're addressed, and how they roll out. The emotional attachment forms long before there's any financial pressure. Okay, connection is built gradually over the space of several weeks to several months, and trust, which is a major bond, if you will, the major glue that holds this together, is developing, and it develops daily. Okay, a shared future is also key to a romance scam typically, and even though it's imagined, the shared future is important to both parties. Okay, so the connection is built first, and financial urgency comes later. So that's important to understand. Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit more about the attachment formation, which I call as phase one. Okay, and it starts with daily communication. It may start out with a very innocuous message, and it typically does almost 100% of the time. Hi, this is Linda. This is Roger. Or, hi, I saw your post on Twitter and I was very impressed with that. And I was wondering if you might want to talk more about it. Or I saw your post. I was very intrigued by it, and I was just looking for some new friends. There's always something that comes through on messaging, either on Twitter, on your phone, social media, very common. And it could be, oh, I'm sorry I had the wrong number, but you seem nice. Can we talk? They're just looking for an opening. Okay. As soon as you respond, then you're in trouble. It's just is as simple as that, right? But you'll find that the emotional attachment and that attachment formation is key, is very critical to the formation of this relationship and the continuation on how it's gonna play out, right? And you'll see communication go from maybe a little bit sporadic to very daily communication. Hey, how's it going? How are you doing? Hey, I just wanted to talk. Um, what did you think about the market today? Or let me tell you about my day. What'd you have for lunch? Did you eat? Are you okay? How's your health? It can be anything to keep the communication going. Okay. They're also trying to establish your emotional availability. How are things going with you personally? Is there anything that they can look at, okay, that they can exploit to find a way into your life, whether it be shared stories or shared values. There's always affirmation, right? Oh, I did this. Oh, that's wonderful of you. Oh, you shared, or oh, you gave your time to that charity, or you contributed to that charity, or something that you did with your family. There's always affirmation of, wow, that's awesome of you. Do you do that often? Okay. All they're trying to do is increase the dependency, increase the attachment, increase the development of that emotional response, right? And that emotional relationship that's forming between the two of you. It's critical, and that is one of the transitions. Okay, then it there's different pivots that happen uh, um, during this relationship, right? And you're gonna see them happen, but as your emotional development with this person uh, deepens, okay, you're gonna start walking by some red flags. They'll be flapping like crazy, and you'll just walk by them, okay, because you're developing that level of trust, a deeper level of trust to the point where um, you might even become intimate with this individual, and usually you do, and that's why they call it a romance scam. And don't don't be deceived, right? There's just one thing that these people are interested in, and that's taking everything that you have. Okay. But there's different shifts, and once the emotional or the intimacy part of the relationship is strong enough, and then you're going to see that it shifts into, investments and financial and that kind of a relationship. And you're going to see that there's emergencies or crises that appears, the sudden urgencies or time pressures, because that pressure and that time pressure and those urgencies, they will impact judgment, okay, and intellect. And that's how intellect gets overridden, and that's how intellect gets pushed aside. And the more pressure there is, usually the way that humans are wired is that as the pressure increases, the intellectual responses become less and less, and emotional responses become even more and more, okay, more pronounced. So that's you're going to see as your relationship matures, you're going to see that the financial pressure and the crises pressure uh, and time pressures increase. Okay. Um, and that kind of explains it simply. When that happens, your thinking narrows, skepticism drops, emotional urgency rises, and risk evaluation decreases, and you become more and more dependent upon your partner, who is all of a sudden become very cool and collected and a source of understanding, and in the midst of all this pressure, a very stable source of emotional stability. So you're going to see that shift, okay? And you're going to see that transition. And that's kind of the part that people misunderstand. How smart people can become part of this, okay? But here's the understanding. Okay, humans are wired to protect relationships. They preserve bonds that feel urgent, and the emotional system temporarily outranks the analytical system. It just does. Intelligence does not disappear. It's just temporarily rerouted. It's not as refined. But what you'll find is that financial compliance occurs not because someone lacks judgment, but because attachment has been neurologically prioritized over loss prevention. You're going to see that happen, right? So it's important that that we understand that, right? You might have a loved one that's involved in a romance scam, and you may not understand, well, how did somebody who's so rational and so pragmatic get involved in this? But the emotional pressure and the financial pressure is so great that judgment becomes impaired, actually. And you're going to see almost a transition of dependency, if you will, to the person uh, who understands and who's more calm and collected. Oh, I've been through this before. Don't worry about it. Oh, I understand what you're saying, but trust me. The consortium knows what's going on. We've been through this with other individuals. Don't worry about it. It's temporary. The assurances start, right? And so, because there's that emotional relationship that has developed so deeply, there's almost 100% trust. It's almost like you're dealing with a spouse, like you're dealing with your absolute best friend, like you're dealing with your wife or your significant other. It's that level of trust has become that deep. Okay, so there's there's a simple, what I call, interrupt rule. Okay, and it's prevention. It has to happen early. Okay, the longer the attachment deepens, the harder the interruption becomes. But simply, when you see those messages, um, you know, I loved your post. You just talk so intelligently about the economy, or you handled that situation in such a way that I was so intrigued I had to reach out. Um, where did you get that insight? There's that information. There's that ego stroking. There is those open-ended invitations to keep that conversation going. Those are going to come. You probably are getting those even as I'm speaking about it, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. Love your post. I'm just looking for some new friends. Hi, this is Deidre. Is this Jim? Oh, I've got the wrong number. Oh, I'm sorry. Hey, you seem nice. Can we talk? It's always open-ended questions, something that requires a response. And since you've been conditioned since the time that you're small, hey, don't be rude, respond back. But if you do, you're opening the door, okay? Because they're going to have some very flattering things to say. They're going to have some very affirmative things to say, and the conversation's going to flourish. And pretty soon you're going to wind up in some serious, serious trouble. So let me just say that there's an interrupt rule, and it's very simple, okay? It's called delete, block, and walk. Delete the contact, block for further communication, and walk away before the attachment strengthens. So delete, block, and walk. And when I say walk, walk over to your significant other, to your wife, to your spouse, to whoever it is, that relationship that you hold dear, and just tell yourself, I just protected this because I'm guaranteeing you that you did. Okay. Let me say it again. Delete, block, and walk. All right. Finally, there's something else that needs to be addressed. And it kind of goes together, restoration and shame. Unfortunately, I did not follow my own advice. I did not delete, I did not block, and I did not walk. I did on 100 different salutations that were unsolicited, those innocuous ones that come in that just seem so innocent. Responded back to one, and yeah, just to let you know, that's been life-changing and not for the better. And that's why I'm having this conversation right now. The shame that you feel is almost unbearable. You There are no other people to shoulder that blame with you. You're in that yourself. Okay. You look in the mirror and you understand that you are totally responsible for everything negative that has happened to you just because you did not block. Okay. You did not walk away. All right. So you're gonna you're gonna try and be silent. Okay. You just you want to disappear, quite honestly. There's more severe thoughts, and I hope that you won't entertain those, right? Because as I've spoken with others who have been in this situation, they're just a little bit further up the trail. They do say that the sun does come out, that life does go on, but it doesn't go on for a while. You don't find the solutions immediately, and it takes a while. All right. So, um, there's numbers and there's people who are there to help if you're entertaining self-harm, and I hope that you do not do that because that's why these um, these romance scams are so prolific and why so much money is lost and why it continues to happen is they feed upon the shame and the silence. That's why I'm having this conversation right now. I refuse to be silent. Now, I know that people I work with, people I go to church with, all the people that I know and I've worked with for years, are going, I can't believe that you fell victim to this, but after talking with you, I can see it and I can understand. And I definitely emotionally, attached and can rationalize how that can happen. Okay. And I appreciate that you're not being silent, that you are coming forth and educating and trying to prevent this from happening to others. So if I can just leave you with 3 words, please, please, absolutely please. Delete, block, and walk. Peace is such a fragile thing. You don't want to give it up, and it's expensive if you do, and it's so hard to get back. But personal peace, that peace that you might take for granted because your nest egg is secure, you've worked so hard your entire life for it, you've preserved it, you've protected it, and now you put it at risk. Is that is just something that I just can't uh I can't put enough emphasis on, right? Um, romance scams that the law enforcement has another term for. They don't affectionately refer to it as pig butchering, and that's exactly what it is. Um, they find the pig, me, or you, because we're all prey. If you're not part of the people who are perpetrating this, you are prey. Don't don't think that you're not, but you're a pig that gets ushered up the chute. You can smell the blood from the pigs that went before you, and you know, by the time you feel the knife at your throat, it's just too late. And I hate to be that graphic, and I hate to be um, well, yeah, that graphic about it, but that's exactly what it feels like. Okay, so I'm hoping that that won't be the case. I'm hoping that won't be the case for you or the people that you love or the people that you care about. So again, the final words are delete, block, and walk away. Focus on those relationships that are real, that are important, and keep the peace. Keep the peace for your family. Keep your own peace. And I hope that God blesses you in everything that you do. And I hope that this talk might resonate with you and that it will keep you from doing things that I've done. Because once you lose your peace of mind and the things that you hold dear, they're hard to get back. And you just don't want to find yourself in that situation. I appreciate your time, and I hope this talk resonated with you. And we'll catch you on the next one. Thank you for your time and listening today.